Buyer's Guide is brought to you by Change Cars. Find your dream vehicle with Change Cars, the platform buyers trust.
This week on Buyer's Guide, we evaluate the Ford Ecosport as a used compact SUV.
We compare second-hand executive sedans from BMW, Volvo and Honda.
And we look at power and torque figures on hybrid vehicles and how they are calculated.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Buyer's Guide, the show where we help you, our viewers, to solve some of the toughest automotive problems. If you have a question for the team, you can send it to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za. And remember to give us as much information as possible and maybe include a clear photograph of yourself.
Today, joining us in studio are two familiar faces on Buyer's Guide, Fazana Shamu and Michael Pashut from Change Cars. How's it, guys? Good to have you back here again.
Thanks for having us.
Good. Okay, we're going to kick off things with a question from Kulisiwe, who's 28 years old and lives in Mpumalanga. She bought a Kia Picanto in March of 2021 and have since only used it about 5 months because she keeps having problems with it. She's considering trading it in for a 2016 or 2017 Ford Ecosport because it fits her budget of 3,000 Rand a month. And she would love a compact SUV. Now, Fazana, we're going to start with you. Would you recommend the Ecosport? And if not, is there something else you could throw into that?
I would recommend the Ecosport, but in terms of her budget is quite tight.
Yeah.
And she's going to get a car with high mileage. In her budget also, I wonder if she considered that when she trades in, did she consider the shortfall that's going to be added onto her new car?
If she's
previous
financing
one.
the Kia
Yeah,
Picanto
if she's,
now,
if she's
which most
financing
probably is
it.
by the sounds of things.
Yeah. I did pick out some options. I looked at the Haval H1, Suzuki Vitara or Ignis, maybe a Kia Sportage or Mesa CX-3, but these are quite older models, but in a she said 2016, 2017 range as well, but they all have high mileage.
Let's ask Michael. Michael, your thoughts on this?
I'm in full agreement there. I had a look on the website. You know, she indicated a budget of 3,000 Rand. That's a car roughly 140,000. For that kind of price, minimum mileage 120, 130, you're going backwards. I also think it's important to mention that she subsequently told us that the car is now running. So maybe the car just had a few gremlins. 2019, highly unlikely to have any problems with it. If I was her, honestly, I'd keep the vehicle.
Keep the little Picanto.
Absolutely. Nice little car, 3 years old. Why would you want to go backwards?
And there's not too much that does go wrong with the Picanto. You know?
Correct.
So maybe she's had like you say, which car doesn't have a few niggles? And it's a second-hand vehicle.
Of course.
You know.
I feel sorry for a little bit of bad luck, but the fact that it's running now, keep it, and the bad luck's behind you.
Yeah, sometimes, these cars can give issues. And she said she had a couple of problems. Obviously, she hasn't gone into in-depth.
Yeah, she hasn't
But
mentioned
I think you make a very, very important point there, Fazana, is the fact that you bought a car a year ago.
Yeah.
If they're going to go and trade that in on something else, Michael, how long does it take to sort of get to a break-even point?
Not less than 24 months, and that's
Yeah.
optimistic. I would say
Yeah.
closer to 36.
Roughly minimum 2 years.
Correct.
And only then you're going to clear your debt on that. So for argument's sake, if the car's worth, let's say it's worth 100,000 Rand, that's roughly where they sort of go.
Settlement's going to be higher.
The settlement you're going to have to pay the bank is going to be like 120 grand. So you're going to have to actually throw in money, or what they do, a lot of dealers will take that difference and offset it on a new car. So now you buy a Ford Ecosport that you may find, and as Fazana quite rightly said, you're going to find one that's 120, 150,000 kilometers on it. You're now going to load money onto that finance package. It's going to cost you more. You're actually paying more than the car's worth. In 5 years' time, when you come to sell it, only then are you actually going to get your money back, or not even get your money back,
But we
just
don't-
break even.
We don't know as well if it's 5 years, because these days they give you a 72-month
Yeah,
contract as well.
Even worse.
Even worse.
even worse. 'Cause then it's even longer.
Yeah, that's even longer. And and like you said, Fazana, she's a bit of a tight budget here. So the possibility is she's probably taking it over 72 months. Okay, right. We turn our attention now from SUVs to compact hatches. In 2020, Nikesh bought a 2-year-old Ford Figo 1.5 automatic for his wife as a wedding present. She has since covered just 4,000 kilometers in the vehicle, but as the service plan comes to an end in October 2022, he would like to know if it's worth taking an extended warranty, or should he trade in the Figo and buy something newer. Ladies first, Fazana.
So I got two parts to this. I would recommend extending the warranty. with Ford and, you know, keeping his service plan. But then there's also the right to repair that falls into it now. So if he's going to want to keep servicing with Ford, then do the warranty with Ford. If he doesn't want to do his servicing with Ford anymore, then look for an aftermarket
And there's lots of
provider.
those aftermarket policies around.
But also an RMI approved one.
Yeah.
Michael, sorry, I agree with you. But can't he take an aftermarket warranty but still service with Ford?
He can.
He can, eh?
Correct. I'm going to be very unpopular today. I'm going to tell everybody to keep their car 41,000 kilos. The chances of him having a problem with that car anytime in the near future is not.
So why would that make you unpopular? That was my stance as
I'm
well.
telling him to keep it.
Yeah, no.
But in terms of the
Fantastic.
warranty and not being argumentative, I'm very anti-aftermarket warranties. There's not a day goes by that I don't see just how useless they are. With those low kilos, he approaches his local Ford dealership, gets a quote. It will be dirt cheap to extend it for 3, 4, 5 years to 100,000 kilos, and keep servicing it at Ford. Even if he doesn't take an extended maintenance or service plan, still a very cheap car to service. Cars start getting expensive, 80, 90, 100,000. His next service is annual or 50,000.
60,000, I think, yeah.
It's still too new.
He's
Plus
got a
she's
one
doing very low mileage
Eh?
as well.
She's
so
using
it's
4,000
not
kilometers a
Absolutely.
year or something like that.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
it's
lovely car, not going to give him trouble. Take the extended warranty for that absolute peace of mind and keep servicing it at Ford.
Yeah, it's worthwhile to keep the car, because that was his question. Should he get rid of it? No, you're
No
doing
ways.
low mileage.
No, not at
You
all.
know, to actually.
But if you do want to sell it, please feel free to call us.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Gotta
I'm
change the
sure,
car,
yeah.
see what you can find.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, but when we return, we take a closer look at the Chev Utility Buck.
And we put the Honda Accord against sedan rivals from BMW and Volvo.
Find your dream vehicle with Change Cars, the platform buyers trust.
Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. The Carabo needs a small bakkie for everyday use and to transport the odd load around town. Is it a good idea to buy a Chevrolet utility, seeing as General Motors have left South Africa? Or is there another reliable small bakkie that we could recommend around the 150,000 Rand mark? Michael?
Carabo has given me the easiest question of the day.
Yes.
Nissan NP200 with a safety pack, ABS, airbags, aircon, plenty available with good mileage. You could go into any of the websites.
Yes.
You'll see anything from 120 to 180, but with for 150,000, you'll find it with nice low kilos, 70,000, 80,000. Great vehicle. They're still in the country. It's a best-selling half-tonner. Even when the Chev Utility was in the country, I wouldn't look any further than that. Yourself?
I completely agree. I also got down Nissan NP200. But if he still wants a Chev, I think he should look for one with that's in good condition. And Chevrolet's vehicles are still supported by Isuzu in South Africa. So
Well,
He shouldn't.
one thing I'll say about the two buckies, the Chev Utility is overall a nicer package. The MP200 is a little bit,
Utilitarian almost.
that's the word I wanted, utilitarian. But in terms of maintenance costs and that, the MP200 is by far the cheapest to run.
Yes.
Because the one thing I have found, although you say it's supported by GM and stuff like that, the parts are just like...
Horrendously priced.
I think they must be the most expensive parts of any car. Anything for Opals, it's just nuts. And
And we're talking aftermarket, Adam. Even
even
aftermarket.
And the-
Both
and the
genuine
problem
and
is-
aftermarket.
Yes.
The problem is as well, if you can't get an aftermarket component for it, the dealer network is so bad, and trying to get bits for it is really, really terrible. I actually had a case this week with a client of mine with an Opel Adam, with the gear lever, a little plastic clip on the gear lever broke. 2,000 Rand, nothing available in the country. 6 to 8 weeks.
And just the name will tell you how much trouble you're going to have with that.
Yeah, it's Adam.
Opel Adam, yeah. You
So, I
know?
mean, a silly little thing, that you can't get
Yeah.
parts for.
And another positive on the Nissan NP200s, for whatever reason, positively so, they've never become high theft risks, or I'm not aware of them being high theft risks.
Yes, the NP200.
Are they not high theft risks at all? I
Because
think they're more-
everybody believes that's a Renault Logan. So it's a bad car to steal.
Well, it is a Renault
It
Lager.
is a Renault Logan, but hey,
But they actually
I've never had any problems.
they
eh?
are good buckies, and
They're
there's
good
not much
buckies.
choice. Yeah, it's either you buy an older Chev Utility, or you can get a newer NP200. And there's so many, as you said, there's so many to
Or-
choose from. Yeah.
He could find himself a Nissan 1400 bucky, bro.
Okay, moving on. Jeremiah is in the market for an executive Sedan must be used. Incidentally, he also has a budget of 150,000 Rand. He's considering the Honda Accord, Volvo S60, and of course, BMW 3 Series. How do they compare in terms of maintenance, and which one would we recommend? Fazana, which one would you go for?
I got down Honda Accord in a 3 Series, an E90, but the diesel ones. So 320 diesel or a 330 diesel.
And you can find plenty 320 diesels in that price range.
In that price
and
range,
Accords.
yes.
Volvo S60, we'd stay clear of because the maintenance costs on them are quite high and the reliability issues. And they're not they're quite nice and comfortable to drive, but not the nicest of cars and poor resale value later.
You find one in the north, run south.
Okay, there we go. So you wouldn't recommend that either?
Not at all. 3 Series, also a good choice, but I've gone for the Honda Accord. What I just want to mention to him and some of our other listeners, for an extra 50,000 Rand, I've looked on the sites, 200,000 Rand, you'll get a magnificent Honda Accord. For 150, you'll get something decent, far more decent than you would in the Volvo or the BMW.
range, yeah.
But if you're prepared to just put in another 50,000, even if you finance that, 1,100 Rand a month, that's not a lot of money for that extra peace of mind.
It's actually good advice because if you look at that over a year, say 12 grand, you could spend that in a month on maintenance.
Correct.
On something.
Correct.
And like Fazana said, the cost to repair is way cheaper than either of the other
Compared
two
to the 3
cars. Compared to the
Series?
3 Series,
Theft risk?
exactly.
Non-existent.
Nobody's even interested in the Honda Accord.
Two other cars I could throw in if you can find them. What about something like a Lexus or a Jag? Are you going to find something in that price range?
Jag, I wouldn't even consider. Again, personally, along the same lines of the Volvo, I think you're buying problems. Lexus, always a good car, always. And Lexus are very cheap to maintain.
Yeah, very reliable.
It's a glorified Toyota, and I say that as a compliment. It's got the Toyota positives, and then it's got the German aspects of class.
Yeah, I
It's
suppose
a nice choice.
the only thing with Lexus is that we find in our workshops is aftermarket parts are quite difficult to find.
Yeah.
So you're stuck with having to go to the dealer to get your components if you need those
And I
components.
found the
Sometimes
brakes,
they can be quite
brakes and
expensive.
discs on that car from the dealership is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
We wish Jeremiah well with his Honda choice.
Oh, Honda Accord,
Hey,
yes.
Congratulations.
Okay, don't go away because after the break, we find out how manufacturers calculate power and torque figures on hybrid vehicles.
And should you consider upgrading the engine or trading in a sluggish Toyota Fortuner?
Find your dream vehicle with Change Cars, the platform buyers trust.
Thank you for tuning into Buyers Guide. Hannes would like some clarity on how manufacturers calculate the power and torque figures on hybrid vehicles, as he's read some very confusing reports in the motoring media, especially relating to the recently launched Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. One report states that the petrol engine delivers 72 kilowatts and the electric motor 53 kilowatts. The combined output is given as 90 kilowatts. It is confusing. Then they state the difference between the 125 kilowatts and the 90 kilowatts is due to the CVT losses, but surely the transmission can't sap 28% of power? Michael?
I'm not the expert on this, so I did the right thing. I went to Wikipedia, found out exactly what the story is. I think the big mistake that a lot of people make is they take the two maximum outputs and they combine them. They think that is the maximum output at any given time. It's not. The maximum output of that vehicle at any given time, irrespective of which is operating at a maximum, the way I understand it is 90 kilowatts. It will never be more than that. So it's not a case of that car's got 125 kilowatts. Independently, the figures quoted, the 73 and the 52, is what they will develop when working alone.
Individually on.
Correct. When working in tandem, maximum 90.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm right. If not, if not, it's Wikipedia's fault, not my fault.
It is confusing because it's something that you do. You know, I look at these figures. I remember going on the Corolla Cross and they were talking about this on the launch and saying, but I'm adding up. I'm saying it's 125 plus 50. It's 100. Oh, this thing's going to be powerful.
Yeah.
But it's actually, you do get a certain amount of loss through the gearbox. You must remember, through everything, there is power loss. Even on the altitude, you're getting roughly a 15% loss in power because of the altitude.
And
How
there's a lot
they
of
actually
friction
work it
developed
out.
in the engine. There's a lot of loss due to friction, and that's where you can attribute that loss to. But on a motor vehicle, you know where you can just take, like Michael correctly pointed out, 75 and 25, that's 100.
Yeah.
No,
Not at all.
there's too many other factors involved there. You know, if you putting them 2 engines in series or whatever, and then making sure that they both run optimally all the time, maybe you'll just get close to the 125 numbers. But believe you me, there's so much of losses and friction that you get because of internal combustion engines. There's no way you're going to get.
I think you also must remember on a hybrid vehicle that the electric motor isn't really working when you're doing 120 on the highway.
Correct.
It works in the sort of traffic environment. So your petrol engine switches off, and then the little electric motor just helps you going along, and that's for efficiency and for not being polluting. So when you floor it, then you're going to get the petrol engine coming in, and in some stages
Almost overriding it.
Yes, almost overriding. And in some instances,
you're going
you
to get
have both
90.
the electric and the petrol engine working together. But it's designed more for efficiency as for power. So if you're worried about the figures of it, don't just go and drive the car. Does it suit you? Yes, it does. Then buy the car and drive it like that. But it is quite confusing because you do, common sense says, like Segi says, 75 and 25 is 100. So why is it not 100? Because you do get friction losses, you do get loss through the gearbox. It's like anything. That engine's pushing out so much, but when it hits the road, it's a lot less.
But 90 kilowatts is a lot of power.
Yes.
90 kilowatts. The original Golf GTI, 1800, same size engine. What kilowatts did
I think
that
it was like
have?
82 or something.
80 something.
Spot on,
85,
82.
82.
But
yeah.
I've driven the hybrid and I have driven the normally aspirated car, and they feel very, very similar. It's not a matter of getting extra power, it's a matter of being more efficient. Where the Corolla Cross in the normal 1.8 does something like, if I remember correctly, it was like 8 litres a 100, and it's like half that because of hybrid vehicles. A lot of the times you're using the electric engine. Depends on how you drive it. If you drive in the traffic, it's more efficient, and that's what it's designed for. It's not a race car.
And the way petrol prices
SUV.
are going up,
Oh,
I think that's what you wanted to be driving.
Yeah, so you want to, if you're going to buy a Corolla Cross, go and buy the hybrid, because the savings that you're going to have in terms of the fuel consumption will pay
Very decent.
pay it
Yeah.
off very, very quickly. You've got a big saving every month.
And finally, here's a question from Jurgens, who frequently tows a bush caravan with a weight of around 1.8 tons using his Toyota Fortuner 3-litre D4D. However, he says it struggles a bit on uphills. So he'd like to know if there's any way to boost the power on the Fortuner to about 150 kilowatts. Or should he rather trade it in on something more powerful? His priorities are reliability, decent off-road ability, and good fuel consumption. Man, I don't know how you're going to get all of that towing a 1.8 tons. But anyway, Fazana, what's your take on that?
So I would suggest he keeps it. I mean, the D4D is the best engine for the job, and it's also built for off-road. So I did check a tuner's website. He can take it for tuning and get his power up to 155 kilowatts and 430 Newton meters of torque.
There you go.
Get it tuned, get it chip tuned, maybe a free flow exhaust, things like that, give it a bit more power. Michael, what's your opinion?
Men to the left, women to the right, because women are always right.
Okay.
I personally am not a big fan of tuning. He indicated 150 kilowatts is more or less what he wants. That's the exact output of the new 2.8 Fortuner. He's got a Fortuner. He likes the brand clearly. Whatever he's going to spend on that vehicle, the potential reliability issues, the potential when he comes to resell it, that somebody says, I don't want this vehicle because it's upgraded.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that some people say, I want it because it's upgraded. If it was up to me, the 2.8, the new shape Fortuner, 150 kilowatts, 500 Newton meters of torque, and he's got the best vehicle in town.
Yeah,
for his caravan.
I suppose one needs to consider if you upgrade the engine, and now you're towing a caravan. If you're giving it a bit more power, then it's less stressed because you're not having to put your foot flat all the time. But I hear where you're coming from in terms of the reliability, because the manufacturers will build that engine to be bulletproof, and we know those D4Ds, as Fazana said, are really bulletproof. But so is the new Fortuner with 150 kilowatts. But it comes down to money, because if you've got a Fortuner, we don't know how old it is. So maybe it's a 200,000 rand vehicle. Does he want to go and spend another 600 odd or 500 odd thousand
He
rand?
says he's prepared to add in 100K.
Yeah.
For 100K, you're not going to get 155 kilowatts.
He's
So-
got a 2013 Fortuner.
2013. So he should get what, 250, 260 roughly for that
Roughly.
vehicle?
Plus his 100 he's
Plus his
got.
100 is
that's
360. He's short maybe 40, 50,000 rand to get into that newer shape. It's immeasurably superior. I have one question I always ask people. That 3-litre diesel, bulletproof. How many years has it been around for? 10 years in that same configuration? Why did Toyota never upgrade that to a more powerful spec.
Because they want the reliability. Yeah.
That's where it's meant to be. 120 kilowatts is where that vehicle is meant to operate.
In certain applications, what I would do here is if you go into some of these caravan forums and have a chat on the forums to people who have upgraded their engines to see, did it make that much of an improvement? Was there reliability issues? Did they have any problems? Because you could most probably spend, let's say, 40 grand and have a really good job done on your car. A little bit extra, but it's a big saving. But just to see in terms of how good that modification is, because everybody's got major promises. We'll double the power of your car, but it will fly up the hills. Your caravan will push it up the hills. It's got so much power, and it will use no fuel. Okay, all right. And with that, we've come to the end of this week's episode. Thank you, Michael, the comedian, and Fazana for joining us and providing our viewers with such graceful tips and advice.
Thanks,
Lovely
guys.
being here.
Thanks, especially you, Fazana.
Yeah. Remember, if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, whether it be a family SUV, an affordable workhorse, or a luxury sedan, visit changecars.co.za to see if they can beat your quote. Now, Michael, for those viewers who maybe haven't heard about this function on the website, please can you elaborate a bit on what beat your quote is?
I'll be very disappointed if any of our viewers haven't heard, but I'll repeat it again and again. Any maker vehicle in South Africa, except your absolute luxury niche brands, your Porsche, your Ferrari, Maserati, etc., you bring us a quote, you upload it on our system, on our website, there's a little tab there called Beat My Quote. We guarantee you, without exception, we'll beat the quote on any maker vehicle of your choice. Anywhere in the country, we're proud of the way it's being received, and it's being wonderfully received.
And that's only on the new cars?
Only on new vehicles.
Only on new.
And that's changecars.co.za. Go and find the little tab and go get yourself the best deal in town. Until next time, remember to check those tire pressures and keep it safe on the road. Remember, keep left and pass right.
Buyer's Guide was brought to you by Change Cars, the platform where only manufacturer-approved dealers are allowed to advertise.